Seconds. 10 seconds.
Cable Cakes, it's your favorite girl, April Watts. We're going to bring that music down for just 1 second. Yes, we are back with episode 11 of Ego. That's Everybody's Got One. It's a podcast about opinions. You know me. You know I'm full of opinions. I know you have yours as well. And my esteemed panelists, they have theirs. But first, what I need you to do is like, share, and subscribe this feed. We need to just put this everywhere, right here, right now. We have an amazing topic. Some people are going to love it. Some people are not, because half the country is eating sour grapes. The other half is like me. It's a celebration, bitches, okay? That is what we are going to do today. We're going to talk about post-election analysis. We really want to look at what happened, the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the how did Biden-Harris pull this whole thing off. But before we get into all of that, I want to introduce, well, actually, I believe in letting people introduce themselves, because I want to speak for myself. So I'm going to let my panelists speak for themselves. Please tell everybody who you are and what you're all about, starting with Garland Nixon.
Okay, Garland Nixon. I, believe it or not, was a police officer for over 20 years. I retired in law enforcement.
Okay.
And, yes, did many years in law enforcement. After that, I taught criminal justice at Anne Arundel Community College for years.
Okay.
I've been doing radio for many years. I've done news all over the world.
Yes,
Fox
you have.
News. I do a TV show in London now. And I enjoy running my mouth and talking about politics.
Which is why we have you here, and I'm so happy that you did this for us today. And next up, we have the beautiful and very, very talented Miss Kelly Davidson.
Thank you for having me. My name is Kelly Davidson. I'm the founder and CEO of Kelly Maven Media. It is a marketing, public relations, and kind of everything agency. We do a little bit of everything for nonprofits, entertainers, large organizations. My experience in politics, I've worked on campaigns, local and national, as far as Obama, most recently Gladys Weatherspoon, who ran for judgeship in Prince George's County. And I am here celebrating as well.
We are so happy to have you. Now, this person wears many hats. He's a producer, but he's also a guest today, Eric McKinley King.
And I'm very happy to be here. And I'm ready to get the celebration started.
Yes.
As much as I hate being on camera, this is a worthy occasion. I'm glad to be in the house on this side again, and I can't wait to get into this topic.
Last but not least, joining us on the left coast via Zoom is my man Trey Harding.
Everybody, just a general politics nerd through my experiences up to the contracts on different things. Robert D. is celebrating. Thanks to everybody that's we're going to let the dice roll.
All righty, well, let's get this celebration started. I'm going to borrow like a little something from my girl Erykah Badu. Sisters, how y'all feel? Brothers, y'all all right?
Wonderful.
I want to get your reaction to this entire election. Like, how have you felt about it from the beginning to where we are now, with hopefully Biden-Harris getting ready to take over the White House and with a new administration?
Well, you know, for me, it's interesting because this is what I do. I'm a political analyst.
Yes.
So I tend not to get emotional. A lot of people are emotional, but I'm watching it and I'm evaluating what's going on and trying to figure out it. Very, very different. With a Donald Trump in the White House, politics have been so much different.
Yes.
So it was very interesting for me to watch it and to try to figure out what was going to happen afterwards, what was going to happen. And here's the big question. Between when Donald Trump loses and January 20th, what are we going to see? What is this guy going to do that's going to be the interesting time.
They're going to have to pull him out kicking and scratching, man. He is not going easily. What about you, Kelly?
So I'm the opposite of you, Garland. I actually know that we're supposed to look at this from a non-emotional perspective, be informed voters, but I was very emotional. As far as, I haven't really been impacted negatively by his policies, but I've watched this wretched man, be so rude, be so disrespectful, break laws and get away with it. I'm a little jealous of that because, who wouldn't want to get away with the things he
Right.
But I was very much someone who was looking at this as a situation like, we have to get him out. I don't like him. And in addition to everything else he was doing as far as legislatively and things of that nature. So I am nervous still because, he's obviously still in the way, but I'm very, very hopeful that we can, get this administration out and get the right people in and get some work done.
I'm right in the middle pretty much because I'm happy because you're happy. Those of you out there who are happy, I'm happy for you. This was tense and anxiety-laden election like I've never seen. I've gotten more phone calls and texts that were worrisome to the point of needing everything from a drink to a volume. It's really been a difficult time for a lot of people. And so while I tend to be more objective and I just kind of read the tea leaves or whatever, there's something about this that I think is a shift. Donald Trump obviously was a cancer on this country, and I think there's very little room to debate that. But the mechanics of actually getting him out of office, I understand the tension and what was felt behind that. So I'm celebrating internally, but I'm still objective and I'm still kind of just reading the news and taking it all in. On that side of my personality, but I'm happy that everybody's had this sense of relief and catharsis. So,
Cancer, pus bump, pain in the ass, all of the above.
Knuckle dragger. That's the
Knuckle dragger, yes.
The knuckle dragger.
I like that. Let's
that.
go to my man Trey.
So, of course, I had a level of excitement that he's out of this world because this man is out of office. I'm a next thing kind of person. So the election is one, what happens now? You have 70 days for this lunatic to do whatever the hell he wants because he has the power to do so. So you have that. Then you have the fracturing of the Democratic Party in the House. And it's just what happens when Joe Biden really takes power. Where is America at that point? Because there's still a lot of healing that needs to be done. I don't know if you can heal 71 million people that voted for that man. Maybe you can. I don't think so. So at this point, I'm really, I'm not gonna lie, as a person who was in the military and has been to war, I'm apprehensive right now, because he could do a lot of crazy things.
How did you feel when it first started, though? Because I'm sure, now you're wondering what's next, what is Biden going to do? But when everything first started, when we were we have to vote him out, whatever, how did you feel?
For me, I always felt like we would win. I felt like there was more good people in this country than not. But then, you start reading social media and then you have those back and forths about, well, should black people support Democrats? Or you see that rhetoric where Trump's going to win anyway and stuff like that. So there was a time where my motivation definitely dipped. But as you started to see more stories around the country, especially if you were following what Act Blue is doing with all races around the country, I had no doubt that we were going to win. I had no doubt. I was just let's cruise. Let's get this man out of here.
You are an optimist because I did not feel that way. I thought that Hillary Clinton was going to beat Trump, so America disappointed me once before. I expected America to possibly disappoint me a second time. So I was nervous, but I was excited in a weird way. I was just watching election coverage like it was a sports game. I was really excited. I was anxious. I was eating and drinking and just watching the television, and the same numbers just kept scrolling across the screen. But I was watching, waiting for some things to change. So I was just a whole bundle of emotions. I really wasn't that analytical. I was concerned because, much like you, Kelly, I didn't like that man. And it's less about his policies and more just about what he represented and what he incited in this nation, all of the ugly things, all of the emboldening of races that he did, I was just like, he has to go. So I was very emotional, just like you. Now let's talk about black women. One of my favorite topics. Sisters, black women, all of that good stuff, brown girls. We're finally getting our just due and our credit politically, okay, with Kamala, I want to say it properly, Kamala, because my DC accent, I want to call her Kamala girl, but Kamala, and with Stacey Abrams. Do you think that this is that pivotal moment that's going to break the glass ceiling for good? I'm gonna let the lady go first.
Oh, wow, for good, because it's hard to trust America.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
It's like if they'll deal with you when you're giving them what they want, but as soon as the tide changes, then it's back to the original script. So let's think about after Obama. Everyone acted like the country was in ruins and all this kind of stuff, and that's why we have a Trump. And so for me, it's going to be, obviously contingent upon their performance in these last 4 years. But for black women, we have to work extremely harder than everybody else.
Yeah, we do.
And so I don't feel like it's a given that the tide has changed, but it's the beginning. It's a ripple in the wave in that direction. But it's going to take much longer than these 4 years.
Trey, what do you think?
So.
And Trey froze, so we're going to go to. Okay,
There we go. We got
Trey is back.
Okay. I think that it does break the ceiling in a forever kind of way, because that's something no one can ever say again. With Kamala, you can never say there's never been a black woman in that position. So you can never say there can't be another black woman in that position. I think the only thing that stands between black women and like complete takeover of politics is purely there's not enough of you. You should run more positions than you do right now. You're the most level-headed voters this country's ever seen. So I hope to see more.
Black women everywhere are loving you for that statement. We're going to go to Garland.
So as a political analyst, I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle,
Okay.
right? Because again, I try to see it and just analyze things. There's two things here. There is the symbolic achievement of
Okay.
a black woman or
Yes.
a person of, whatever, of color. Okay. But the other part is you got to wait and see for this reason. Because you got to wait and see what the person's going to do. What's their policies? They could be symbolic. For instance, here's an example. I could say, oh boy, there's a black person running for president. Are we all going to vote for him? Who is it? It's Clarence Thomas.
Boom.
Oh, there ain't no symbolic victory for
Right.
me. So you got to be wary.
Ben Carson, hello.
I'm an older person. I remember when Clarence Thomas was running, and everyone was out there going, we got to support him. And I remember sitting with my mom saying, you might want to look at this guy's policies. He ain't one of us. Now, I'm not
Exactly.
saying that about Karen. I'm just saying that as an analyst, in general, you take the victory, you understand it as a symbolic victory, but Kamala Harris, just like a white, green, gray, or grizzly a politician, you hold them accountable and you say, as
Exactly.
black people, we expect this from you. And probably we expect a little bit more from you.
More.
You know what I mean? Because you're supposed to
Absolutely.
see things our way. So we're going to be angrier at you if you don't go that direction. You know?
What do you think, E?
Absolutely not. I think there's still a ways to go. I don't think that I'm not a delusional person. I don't like to kind of, just dive in because one good thing happens, and this is a very good thing. But I trust America to be America. Like I trust America implicitly to do exactly what the fuck it's always done. And so therefore, no. This is the ceiling might be cracked, but shit, cracks can. How long your phone screen been cracked? You know what I mean? Like that can last, and I think a lot of it will depend on the output of the administration for sure. But it's also like everything else, you're still going to depend on the work and the boots on the ground and the strategy, and not getting internal with the infighting, which Democrats don't want to do, and doing it right now. So. I think that there's definitely a ways to go, and that really more than just the distance to cover, there's got to be somebody to help navigate that distance, and it can't just be, oh well, we had the success, and so the bouquet of roses is just going to appear.
It's a celebration, bitches. We are doing post-election analysis right now on Ego. It's live, and you can call in. We can't have a conversation without you, so call us up. 410-822-FREE. That's 410-822-3733. Now, let me put a little curveball in here. We've had Barack Obama. and we currently have Kamala Harris, right? What if Kamala Harris looked like Shirley Chisholm? Would Kamala Harris have even been the vice presidential nominee, even on the ticket? And if she were, would Biden have won? I just want to know what everybody thinks about that, because I believe, well, I'm going to be quiet.
I'll say no. No,
Okay.
absolutely not. Let's be honest about this thing. And this is not a critique of Barack Obama. Barack Obama was an immigrant. Barack Obama was not a descendant of slaves. His mother was white. His father was an
African,
immigrant.
yes.
She is an immigrant. And might I add, both of her parents come from the highest castes in their community. So it's not like she's the poor peasant, right? So there's certain things that are going to be consistent if you're going to if you're going to be in power. And I tend to believe Jesse Jackson ran. Yeah, Jesse Jackson is a descendant of slave, and he looks like a
He's a
descendant
little too
of
black
slave.
for him. He was a little too Southern. His little accent. All of that, yeah.
We've still got that.
We picking safe Negroes.
Let me say
Let's
this.
just be honest.
You know what? And let me be honest. When I first went on national TV, I got out and I looked at it, and they called me come back, and I thought to myself, because like so many other people, I got a bunch of sisters, and they go from white to black as night. My sisters, and I remember thinking to myself, okay, they like me and they want me to come back. But I wonder if I was really, really dark-skinned,
Would you have gotten
would
the call?
they say come back, or would have I even been there in the first place? And that's just being honest. And so I think that's why this conversation in the black community is always important to have.
Anybody else have any thoughts about that?
Oh yeah.
Or am I
because
tripping?
Stacey Abrams. She was a better option to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
She
Yes.
did.
She would get my vote for
won the
president.
election for them. And so when I saw that he didn't choose her, I knew what it was. The safe choice, the visual representation of a blended America.
Racially ambiguous.
Love Barack Obama, met him several times, but I feel like that's a part of that.
Yeah.
And also Michelle Obama is my first black woman in the White House, personally. She represented a strong black woman, a woman who came from lower means and all those sort of things, and had more impact than the average first lady. But as far as Kamala, she's qualified and all those kind of things, but I believe she was picked for that purpose. And unfortunately, I'm a Stacey Abrams fan.
Me too. Stacey all the way.
One
for
other
real.
quick comment on that. And from the perspective of a political analyst, he should have picked a Stacey Abrams.
I was praying.
Why. Right, here's why. Traditionally when you pick a vice president, you want somebody that can deliver a state. A lot of times they'll get somebody from Florida or Ohio. Why? Because they want Florida, Ohio. You already got California. You
got
don't need it.
California. California is
So-
liberal as all get out.
So strategically, his best pick would have been Georgia. He gets more votes, and he gets a nice broad victory if he had Stacey Abrams.
Now,
So
I want to play devil's advocate
Abrams.
because I think I recall Stacey Abrams, when asked whether she would even consider being on the ticket as the vice presidential candidate, what have you, she said that she didn't run to be vice president. She would run to be president.
She
said
I
that.
think I recall her
She did
saying
say
that.
that.
And I was like, my girl, because that's the way I am too.
She did
Like,
say that originally, but then she was blatantly promoting herself to be his pick.
wow.
She did say
Okay.
that originally, and she should have, because that was the goal, that was the focus. When when the course changed and she didn't get the nomination, then she was outwardly promoting herself to be his pick.
And he embarrassed her on
And
national
he
TV.
did.
You remember that? Joe Biden embarrassed her on national TV.
I missed that.
Anybody can go online and find it. He brought her on and he said, I've got something to announce, I've got something to say, and I want Stacey Abrams on MSNBC. And she was smiling, and,
No, he
everybody thought, oh man,
It's gonna be
and
her.
it was like something else. And there was a lot of video online because you could see her like this.
And
And then
then
when he started talking,
The whole
kinda
face
smiled
just-
like, because everyone thought that's what he was, and afterwards people were like, he kind of embarrassed her. That didn't work good.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's about to hurt me to in any way defend Joe Biden. I promise you, this does not feel good. But I do feel when it came to the VP pick, his concern, and more important than his concern, the campaign's concern of getting that pick right, was that they knew more than Joe Biden, the VP pick was going to deliver the election. That the election really hinged on what Joe Biden did, because that's really your only opportunity to manage in front of people. And for him, everybody was just so, no pun intended, but sleepy on him and his candidacy. He's old, he's run, this is his third third run for.
She's not
for the
exciting either.
presidency. And so I feel like his reticence to make that pick and just kind of like, you know, grab the first hottest, kind of trendiest person you could, while that might have been instinctive, and Abrams would have been no doubt like an awesome pick. I would have respected him a whole lot more had he done that. I think the campaigns, and this goes back to another black woman, shout out to Simone Sanders, and helping advise that campaign of how important that decision would be. Because had he not delivered on that, we would be having a very uncelebration right now.
Right.
I got to give you some inside information.
Okay.
He didn't want her. You know who he wanted?
Absolutely.
Who did he want?
He wanted Amy Klobuchar.
Yep.
I heard that.
Yeah, the George Floyd incident killed that. She
And
was
right
from
second.
there, and she was in fact like a prosecutor who let one of those officers off that was involved.
Wow.
He wanted her. The George Floyd incident killed that.
Y'all hear that? All right, Trey, do you have any thoughts?
I don't think it was necessarily that Joe Biden didn't want to pick Stacey Abrams. When Stacey Abrams lost her race from governor, day one she went to work on voting.
Yes.
And I think
She
that-
sat Shiva 10 days. Remember that. She says that. I sat Shiva for 10 days. She didn't do anything for 10 days.
Oh, well, 10 days later.
10 days.
She went straight to work on voting. So I think that her focus was elsewhere. And I think that just didn't allow her to even think about being the VP. Also, I think for us, especially black people,
Oh man, it was like right at the good part.
Yeah, man.
He was about to get into that point.
Cliffhanger.
There you go.
Okay,
Yes,
especially
but-
for black people, for us. Come back in.
having Stacey Abrams available and not wrapped up as a VP, I think will go a lot further for us. Because even though Joe Biden and Kamala Harris right now are the face of the party, I think everyone around the country looks at Stacey Abrams as the champion of the election.
Yes.
Yeah,
So they're
absolutely.
going
She
to
delivered.
follow her more than they're going to follow Kamala or Joe as it pertains to politics.
Yes.
Policy is different, but as it pertains to politics, as Stacey goes, I mean, she really doesn't have to point in a direction. We're all going to follow.
So it's already been rumblings that Joe Biden, because of his age and other reasons, is only going to be a one-term president. Do you believe that America is ready for a black woman president?
Which America?
That's what I was getting to.
She's like, what's America?
Yeah, see, you know, there's a certain portion of America that's not ready for any president that doesn't look like them or doesn't, that doesn't, you know, work
Or
for
is
their
it
party.
male for that
Yeah,
reason?
yeah. So America is so divided right now. I mean, really, really
Yeah.
split that, you know, there's a portion of America that's very angry and they're not ready for anything. They're not ready to accept anything that they don't want. And it doesn't matter what you give them. They're not going to like it.
E?
I mean, I've already given my answer. I don't trust America, so no, America's not ready. I mean, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm always ready for black women, but that is, I think that's a hill that is a little too tough to climb. I mean, even within the Democratic Party, which would have to lead that, there's just not enough. It's going to be key for me to go back to Abrams actually to see if she's the front runner for the DNC job. If they give the keys to the party to her, then I think you can see the momentum build behind that. But if the Democrats just take their foot off the gas and like, hey, we won, I think we're looking at, you know, going
Same
back
old.
to 2006.
Same old, same old.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's the fear. The fear that the Democrats stumble, and then, you know, amongst analysts, the issue is, did the Democrats stumble and then another Trump or worse come in? You know what I mean? Let's not forget. Donald Trump was in first place. Who was behind him? Ted Cruz was in second place. Ben Carson was in third place. So either one of those, they may be better than Trump. They might be crazier than he is.
Right.
So, you know, if the Democrats stumble, you could end up kind of right in the same boat that we are right now, because we know that the Republican Party wants Trump is their version of Sarah Palin. Sarah Palin,
Oh my
Donald
God.
Trump,
Yeah.
they want something like that. So if the Democrats stumble,
All sizzle and no steak.
exactly, you know, you'll be...
I want to hear from the black woman on this. Kelly, what do you think?
I think America is ready for a certain type of black woman, and that would be Kamala.
Kamala, exactly.
They're not ready for Stacey Abrams because black people, we want an activist in office. And
Yes.
we have to remember that activists aren't politicians. Activists focus on a certain portion of the population or a specific issue. Politicians have to govern everyone, an inclusive community. And so Stacey has that piece of activism in her that I think she would take to the office. And so they don't want that.
They don't want that.
Nor her natural hair. And so I think that
Nor her size.
none of it.
Her weight,
None of
nothing.
it. So I think that they would be ready for a Kamala. They would trust that. But if Stacey was the VP, I think there would be so much vitriol, so much pushback.
Trey?
I think it goes back to what your first guest was saying earlier. I think it depends on what Kamala does in these 4 years. If she could set a path, right, for a black woman to have an open door. If she's, but the thing about it is, how much is Biden going to prop her up? Because you need Biden to prop her up. You need Biden to put her in positions where people see her succeeding. So how much is Biden going to give her access to do that? Also, it's going to depend on if we win the Senate or not, or at least tie in the Senate, because you're going to need her to have those deciding votes to show people that, hey, Kamala got stuff done for us. You know what I mean? I don't think that the Democratic Party should try to pit another black woman against her until she removes herself. I just think that would just lead to just so much more dysfunction, because then you're having this conversation of colorism and natural hair and all of this stuff, and it takes away from what both women would be fighting for.
We are going to take a quick break in just a second, but I got to squeeze this question in here before we do. Let's talk about the Electoral College as it relates to the 2020 election. Okay, yes, Biden-Harris squoze out a win, whatever. But do you think the Electoral College did us a service or a disservice in this particular election? Like you have some, like with Hillary. Hillary won the popular vote, but she did not win the Electoral College, and so then she did not become president of the United States. So how do you guys feel about the Electoral College as far as this election?
Well, the bottom line is that the Electoral College is another legacy of slavery. And so in reality, it brings out the reality that this is not a democracy. Because in a democracy, name any country where the person who comes in second wins. That's the Electoral College. The person can come in second in America can win, nowhere else. So in reality, are we really a democracy? No, we're something else. I don't know what it is, but it ain't a democracy if the number two person turns into number one.
So do you guys think that we should just take the Electoral College and break it? Should we fix it? Or, you know, what?
You've done away with it.
It's unnecessary, and it's based in racism. And all the way down to the redlining and making sure that the states that have certain people in certain populations, it's by design, and it's not by our design. So anything created by a white supremacist government should be dismantled.
Boom.
Period. It's
That
not for us.
Hard not to agree with that. As far as the Electoral College, though, I think to undo it, you have to look at, the risk reward in that. You know where the fight's going to come, and it's going to come from the areas that are going to be affected by it. And I feel like we have to talk more about, if we're going to change it, what does it change into? Because a simple majority does kind of tilt the scales on. Democrats have been the majority party in this country for quite some time now. So if you're just looking at sheer numbers and volume of votes, then you really lose less of the race. You're not voting for a candidate as much as you are, because they don't have to sell themselves to you. Right now, they are limited in having to sell themselves in these kind of micro pockets of the country, which is disastrous, obviously, and it has been for the last two elections. And we could throw Bush in there for a third. But what is the alternative to that? Because I don't think the alternative to the Electoral College is going to be, well, we're just going to do majority candidate wins in a federal election. I don't see that.
And I'm rubbing my hands for this one. I saved you for last, Trey, because we started this conversation on Facebook, and it was you, Troy Alvarez, and myself, and we were going back and forth. So I would really love to hear your thoughts on this.
But there's no denying the history of the Electoral College. I don't know if I can say for sure that the Electoral College should be abolished, and that's simply because Democrats are in the majority right now. We have more votes than they do. But there will come a time when they have more votes than we do. And do we want them to win elections surely by the popular vote? I think the Electoral College should be adjusted. I think that black people should be a whole human being in the Electoral College, because we're still kind of 3/4 of a person by the way redistricting is. I think it needs a lot of attention. I just don't think I can say that it should be abolished.
All right. Well, with that, we are going to take a small break. Don't you go anywhere. We're going to hear from our sponsors, Safari Nightclub and Ego by April Watts Lipstick and Lip Gloss. Don't forget, you can also call us at 410-822-FREE. That's 410-822-3733 and weigh in on the conversation.
Hey, my name is Krista Michelle, and I'm stopping in for a moment to share my experience with Ego by April Watts, which is an amazing lip gloss line. Just started using it, and ordering very, very simple. Starting the process, bcnapparel.com. Number of colors available. Go online. You can choose between your matte lip gloss and your glossy lip gloss. They're all liquid. So got the package in the mail, okay? Very fun packaging, all right? So it's not just your basic white cardboard or even recycled packaging, because you know people do that too. So it was fun packaging. Then I opened the box. Now, y'all, I get excited about little things. So I was excited about the package. I really didn't know what to expect. I know April Watts is about quality, and I know she, has the fun and the spunk, but I just really wasn't sure what to expect with the whole product. So, opened the package, fell in love. Very basic, sleek branding. Love it. Okay, love it, love it, love it. I have two. I ordered two. So one box is glossy, one box is matte. Love it, because she has two types of lip gloss. So then I opened the package. Okay, opened the lip gloss, fell in love. Same branding. Love it. Quality branding. Very sleek, simple. Ego by April Watts. Okay, so this color is Audacity. It's like a burnt orangey color, not quite red, not quite orange, but I love it. It's fun. You can see it a little bit better. So I have this on now. This has been on, just a disclaimer, this has been on for about 8 or 9 hours or so. I've been able to eat, I've been able to drink. So yes, it did wear off a little bit, but you can still see the color. So this is a long lasting lip gloss. Okay, so I'm going to put this on just so you can see it a little bit better of the actual color. But one of the things that I really appreciated was, and I'll tell y'all in just a second. Lord have mercy. This ain't working out. This ain't working out. But when I opened it, oh my gosh, can you smell that? It smells amazing, and I was not expecting that at all. So this has an amazing, it's almost like a fruity, flowery, I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's like a fruity, flowery type of fragrance, okay? Then, when I was putting it on, because y'all see I'm a little messy with I'm not a makeup person, y'all. I wear lip gloss, and that's about it if I don't have to put on extra. So, when I put it on, I had a little bit on my teeth. You know how that happens. And I licked my teeth, and it tastes great. Okay, now disclaimer, another disclaimer, I am not saying eat the lip gloss. Okay, this is not to promote eating the lip gloss, but if you do get a little bit on your teeth, know that it's not that sticky, chemically typical lipstick lip gloss taste. Okay, this actually has a slight little flavor to it, and I'm excited about that. Okay, so this is an amazing line. Again, there's a number of colors available. Go online, find your favorite, even if it's not what you're used to. Try something new, y'all. Try something new, because this is called Ego. by April Watts. So you got to have a little bit of ego. You have to have a little bit of confidence. You have to have the audacity to go out and try something, do it different, to show up different, to do you in a new way, okay? So I just wanted to stop in and just let you know my thoughts, but I encourage you to go to bcnapparel.com and get your favorite colors. Have some audacity. Get your ego right.
And we're back. Welcome back to Ego. Everybody's Got One, the podcast about opinions. If you're just tuning in, my name is April Watts. I am your host each and every week. And joining me in the studio, we have Garland Nixon, my girl Kelly Davidson, and we have Eric McKinley King. And via Zoom, all the way on the left coast, it's my man Trey Harding. The topic for today, I am so happy to say, is it's a celebration, bitches, okay? We are doing post-election analysis. We are celebrating the Biden-Harris win. But we have a new feature. It's called Human Being of the Week, and I am super excited to honor the first Human Being of the Week for this entire segment as Stacey Abrams, the Democratic superstar. Let's talk about Stacey for a little bit. As you know, she lost a very close race for governor of Georgia in 2018. Many believe racially motivated voter suppression is the only thing that kept Stacey from securing that win. Instead of getting angry, Stacey got moving. And with an effort to increase voter registration and turnout among people of color and other unlikely voters. In all, Stacey helped more than 800,000 Georgians register to vote and is being credited with turning the state blue in the 2020 presidential election, helping to secure a win for Biden-Harris. So once again, Stacey Abrams is our Human Being of the Week. Big ups to Stacey! I'm about to drop my tablet. I'm so excited. No. Hold up. We are not going to give my girl, she pounded that pavement. She turned Georgia blue, 800,000 registered voters, okay? We got to give her some real claps up in here. Woo, woo. We can do a little bit better than that. Okay, so since we're talking about the presidential election, I want to talk strategy. As an analyst, I want to start with you. What do you think it was that actually pulled out that win for the Democrats, besides Stacey Abrams in Georgia?
Well, to be frank, the way I saw it, I predicted what I said when I predicted was I wouldn't be shocked if Trump wins, but I expect the Democrats to win.
Okay.
I based that on the facts on the ground. Mm-hmm. I saw no way that an incumbent president with the response to COVID, with the economic issues, I just saw no way in the world that Donald Trump gets out of that one and is still the president. So based on, I think it was COVID and economic issues. When I looked at that, it could have been Mickey Mouse versus Daffy Duck. When I looked at that, I'm like, whoever's in the White House in this mess, they ain't coming out of it. And that was my position.
So what I'm hearing for the most part is it wasn't necessarily the Democratic strategy, but it was just what happened, like timing as far as COVID and as far as Donald Trump just being his own enemy. Is that what I'm hearing or what?
I'm a political analyst, so you know that's the way I'm going to look at it. But there's an argument to be made. There's a great book that I would recommend to people called, it's by Professor Alan Lichtman from American University called The Keys to the White House. And he comes up with 13 different things like how's the economy, overseas, foreign policy, etc. And what he says is whoever gets 7 of them, and he says it's the incumbent versus the challenger. Whoever gets 7 of them wins. And he basically applied this all the way back to the election of 1860, and it accurately predicted every single time. And so The Keys to the White House is a book. That's one of the things that I go by. But what he says is, even during World War II, during civil rights, when all of these economic uproars, these same factors always determined who won. So as
So
an
the
analyst, I do
Democrats ain't that smart, okay?
So we can run April Watts in 2024.
Hey, let's go!
saying.
I don't think they're ready for me. I
They
don't think
ain't
they're
ready
ready.
for you, April.
They're not ready for this bald head, this big mouth. They are not ready. Trust me. Kelly, what do you think?
I agree with you, but I also think the underlying factor is the grassroots movement and the reaction to Trump. So you have, the immigration issues, you have his reactions and comments about Africa and things like that. I feel like there were some people who are on that borderline of, what we call covert racism. They kind of have stereotypes and things of that nature in the back of their minds about people of color, but they're not with the Klan, and so they don't think that they have issues with people of color. They didn't like how blatant Trump was with the disrespect. They didn't like the fact that he would say these type of outrageous things and lies about people of color and countries of color. And so I think that piece right there brought out the younger voters, brought out the people who are just like, we don't want to see him. So economy, his response to COVID and all of that, but his personality, I feel like turned people. Because when we say that there are more Democrats in this country, I'm a registered Democrat, registered as a Democrat, but I haven't always voted that way.
Right.
So there,
Me either.
Like there are people who are crossing parties, in this election and beyond that. And all of that on top of it, with his personality and people's reaction to him, that's what got him out of the office. Not the Democratic strategy, because I don't see a lot of it. I do see meat in their plans going forward. I do see very good things there and value, but I don't see what they were doing here in the election. Sometimes we didn't even see Joe. I'm like, come on, come out.
Right.
Where are you? I just followed Simone, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to vote because, she's here.
Right.
But I didn't feel like their strategy is what turned the tide.
And doesn't that argue for the fact that they saw the same thing too? The fact that they were hiding him in the basement and they didn't go out and do all these rallies.
Right.
Doesn't that kind of tell you they were like, things ain't looking for Trump. We'll just chill out over here and take an easy win.
We're just gonna let him be himself.
So I think they were looking like, we're just gonna take this easy win and roll with it.
I agree with that.
I'm glad I'm here in a place where I don't have to pretend that Joe Biden was a good candidate.
Because he wasn't.
Because he was not, and I know I take a lot. I've been taking flack for, I don't know, I lost count of how many elections now, but I've never gotten one wrong. Elections are inherently predictable. America is inherently predictable, first of all. And so, to your point about the 13 points, you can take very simple metrics and history, and if you correlate them, you will come out with who wins elections and why, right? Trump as an incumbent, this was a referendum on his performance, which has been awful, right? By no argument, he's been the worst president in modern history, but probably in all of history, and yet we're still talking about this 71 million votes and counting that he's obtained, right? So that just gives you a kind of an idea of the binary nature that we live in America. However, when you do couple with his failures with COVID and the economy, you have this attrition that can't be overcome. Because at some point, the one good thing about America, if there's a good thing about racism in America, is that it runs out of room at some point, right? And so when you max out however many votes you can get, whatever that number is, and then you put a clown as candidate at the helm, good luck. You know what I mean? Bad things are bound to happen. And so we were fortunate that bad enough things happened that a candidate at the basement level of a Joe Biden could ascend, mostly being propped up by,
Kamala.
Yeah, Kamala and certainly Simone Sanders and the people that are around him that gave him that energy. I'm in agreement, and I think that it was a fairly easy call. I never doubted that.
That was the most articulate diss ever. You were like a candidate at the basement level of a Joe Biden. That
was not about Papa Joe.
Tell us how you really feel.
Now, can I say?
I like him as a person.
And I'm going to say something cynical and controversial.
Okay.
All the racist stuff about Trump, that's what I like about him best. As a cynical black person in America, because as a cynical black person, you see, you look at the history of Ronald Reagan when you find out what he was saying behind closed doors. Richard Nixon. There's so many people out there, right? I'm not shocked at that. So when I look at that, I'm like, see, don't tell me there ain't no racism in America. Don't tell me that this is not the way America is. So there was something about Donald Trump doing that out there that I kind of, in a way, I almost felt like
the room
it was proving what we
If he were governor, then fine.
Huh?
If If he were governor, then fine. If he were like some congressperson or something like that, then fine. But as the leader of the nation, I didn't like it. And I didn't like it because people looked at him as the example. People looked at him as, it's okay now. So then you had people, white people wilding all over the place. You had white people killing white people. You had white people killing black people. Like people literally showed up to polling sites with guns. You know what I'm saying? Like, just to embolden racists in that way, to the point where black people didn't feel safe anymore, not just in the backwoods of like Mississippi, but on the streets of DC, in Chicago, or where have you, that became a problem for me, and I did not like it.
But it's not, he didn't like, I don't think you liked it in a way that I like this about him. It was those things like, show us who you are.
Show us who you
Because
are.
Imagine if he had been quiet about it and legislated in a racist way, and then
which is what the Republican Party always does.
But it happens all the time.
Because he said it out
And the
loud,
Democrats
he
too.
was able to, first of all, embarrass some of them, because you see how many Republicans were like, kind of staying away from him, and then he couldn't have turned off the people that switched over and voted. I feel like if he was quiet, if he didn't have that energy, that negative energy, he may have won again. Even if he had legislated the same way, if he had governed this country the same way, if he hadn't spoken the way that he did, if he wasn't such an overt racist, I feel like he would have won. So I do like when you show me who you are. Show me those true colors so I know what to do with you. I don't like it as my president. He shouldn't be doing it, but it's helpful to us to know who you really are.
I think so.
I get it, but at the end of the day, my concern is life. My concern is safety. My concern is people. And the fact that someone in that position was that bold about it, was that overt with it, and that trickle down effect of, okay, yeah, Trump, show us who you are, but when I'm walking home and somebody wants to commit a hate crime because Trump has made them feel like they can do that, it takes on a whole nother meaning for me. And so I'm not looking at it like on a national level. I'm looking at it as how it affects the everyday black person, and that was fucking dangerous. Like, I don't care. Make racists ashamed again. I don't care what you think about me, but I care about how you approach me. I care about whether you physically harm me. And he opened up something, this ugliness that was always there. Everybody knew it. People have even spoken about it and talked about it or what have you. But for people to feel comfortable acting on just a basic everyday level, I'm not for it. I'm not for it at all. Trey?
I'm of the general belief that the only reason why Trump lost is because he demonized the mail-in vote. Trump increased his margins almost everywhere across the line.
71 million people.
More people voted. Just more people voted. So it wasn't that people turned away from Trump. It's just that he generally didn't get enough votes. And had he not demonized mail-in voting, I think he would have got enough votes. I think that if older white people would have mailed their ballots in, because people talked about the military vote. He won veterans. He won military. He increased his margins almost everywhere across the board. So I think we would be talking about a completely different day right now if he didn't demonize mail-in ballots. I don't think it had anything to do with the Democratic strategy. I think people voted against Trump more than they voted for Democrats. I think that's what happened with me. I'm not mad at that. However you want to get that man out of office, I'm cool. Like, if we all needed to vote for independent, I would have been with that too. Doesn't matter to me. But I think Democrats really need to try to figure out what their messaging is going to be going forward, because they didn't win this election. Trump lost it.
Yeah.
And if no COVID, he wins in a blowout.
Yeah.
If COVID, think about that. If COVID doesn't happen, the Democrats get wiped out.
Guess what? Even if COVID happened, but he had handled it better,
he would have won in a blowout.
He would have won. Honestly, here's what I believe too, because people think that he didn't really have COVID. Yes, he did, okay? Because who would tell that sort of lie? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I believe that if he didn't catch COVID and appear weak, that he would have won anyway, even with how he mishandled this whole pandemic. He still would have won. But because he caught it, then this invincible person is now weak. And it's like, well damn, man, can't even protect yourself. You know?
Take care of us.
That's the reason.
Exactly.
If you look at what Republicans are doing now, the reason that they've given him so much creative license, if you want to call it that, to do whatever crazy shit he wants to do, even now, even not conceding and all these, baseless legal challenges that aren't going to happen. Like, the reason he has that room is because he's proven that there's a path for the minority, the minority being the Republicans, to still have a fight in 4 years and 8 years and 12 years. And nobody thought that before Trump. Nobody really saw this as a viable road to gain a share of the electorate until Trump accidentally showed, like, no, if you build it, they will come. No matter if the building is a tower of racist feces, they will come, and they will, bring their children and bring whoever, their families with, and they will come out in numbers. And so with McConnell and Lindsey Graham and all those guys who are, still kind of jockeying around him, the reason is because even when he's gone, that damage has already been done, the dam is broken, and now they know, like, okay, we're still the minority party. We're still going to have, take all these L's and have to concede these things, but at least we know we have some wiggle room for another decade or so.
Which is a perfect segue to my next question, because I've heard analysts say that the Republican Party is now Trump's party because his ideologies and his way of moving has basically redefined the whole party. Obviously, or maybe not so obviously, he won't be president for a second term. Cross our fingers, pray, kiss up to God, all that good stuff. But do you think Trumpism is here to stay? Trey?
One word answer.
I totally believe that Trumpism is here to stay, only because Trumpism was technically here before Trump got here. The Tea Party was Trumpism before Trump.
It really was.
You know what I mean? So, that ideology isn't going anywhere. Now the problem with that ideology is it's festered in that party. And you have to be extremely right-leaning to have success in that party. I don't know how they reel themselves back in. I don't know if they fracture and start over. But I don't think just because Trump lost that Trump is gone. You're going to still need to be Trump-leaning to win elections in this country, especially in super rural, which really means racist areas. So I just think that we're going to be dealing with that for at least a decade, at least.
Do you think Trump is going to go away? Because I always believed that he ran for president because he is a narcissist, and the most famous man in the entire world, or the most famous person in the entire world, is the leader of the free world, the leader of America. And I was like, he's always liked the shine and the spotlight or what have you. And he probably thought, after seeing Obama, who he's obsessed with, he thought, how could I be any more famous than to be president of the United States? So do you think now that he's lost, he's going to go away and go back to business before he was president? Or do you think that he's really just going to get a foothold into politics overall?
He's going to jail.
I don't
What'd you say? I hear you.
He's going to jail.
I hope so. I hope he goes to jail. What do you say, Garland?
Well, I don't think he goes away. A couple of things. Number one, 89% approval rating in the Republican Party.
That's
They love
scary.
him. So the fact of the matter is, and I think it's been discussed here, when the brother said Trumpism, Sarah Palin was Trump before Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So he didn't bring something new into the party. What he did, he came in and reflected what a lot of the people in the party wanted. So they saw Donald Trump and they're like, yeah, finally we got somebody who's standing up for us. Now.
That's so scary,
now,
it's
Mitch
scary.
McConnell, none of those people really can go against him or attack him now, even though, again, they know his legal arguments now are extremely flawed, but they can't. Why? 89% approval rating in the Republican Party. They still have to come home to a district that loves Donald Trump. So Donald Trump, and I will say this, I don't think Donald Trump gets charged with any crimes whatsoever.
I don't think he's going to get charged with anything either.
No president
I don't think so.
gets held accountable for it, because every president could be charged with a crime after they leave. They know a lot, number one. Number two, presidents know too much. You charge a president and he says, oh, you're going to charge me? Let me tell you about that time I was sitting in the office and the people from Exxon and this came in. He could spill the beans. So I'm going to say, based on my experience, ain't no president ever going to get charged with a crime because they know too much.
Okay.
And they could talk and they could out everybody.
We have to get to our closing segment, but this topic is so very, very interesting. I do have to squeeze one more thing in there. So we have to be responsible. Joe Biden is not the president yet. He is tentatively the president. He is the projected president-elect because it hasn't happened yet. It has not been official yet. Is there any way on God's green earth that Donald Trump could still pull this off and get a second term?
It's theoretically possible, but it's highly unlikely. He has basically two arguments. One of them is a garden variety argument, a legal argument. It would be just a garden variety fraud. There was voter fraud or whatever. But that doesn't do you any good unless you can prove there's enough. If you lose by 40,000 votes, you can prove there's voter fraud, but you got to prove 40,001.
I get it.
Because you got to get
see.
ahead. So forget it.
See.
And he's got to do it in like 3 or 4 states.
But he doesn't
There's
even have any proof.
No
Like
chance
he's just calling fraud with no proof
one or two
whatsoever.
maybe, but you ain't going to find 40 or 80,000. That's number one. The other argument that the dubious argument that they are implying they may make is basically this. The way election law is written, it says the election will be held, ballots will be cast on the Tuesday after the first Monday in November.
Okay.
So you can argue, well, all those ballots that were mailed in, people that were early voting, that wasn't technically on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. So you can make that argument.
Bye, Trump.
But that's not going to work.
Right.
Well, there's a legal device called estoppel. Basically what that means is you can't incur what they would if they showed that Donald Trump one time told people you should vote early or you should mail your ballot in, he loses. You can't encourage people to do something and then say, well, throw everything out because they did it. So he basically he's got two chances, slim and fat.
He voted mail-in from Florida.
Exactly.
So you can't claim that, right?
There's no argument.
Right.
Exactly. It's not.
Right.
I totally agree with you. It's theoretically, possible they have all these loopholes, but you read the lawsuits. It's there. Who did he hire? Interns or they're missing briefings, like 10 of them. Everything is
Everybody he hires is raggedy though.
And he loves to fire people still.
Like, dude,
how this is all being handled is terrible. I think it's just more of his ego.
It's just raggedy.
More narcissism to stay at the forefront and to pretend like he has power. I read his book by his niece. He's a real life sociopath.
Yes. Okay. So I hate to cut us off because we could go on and on and on. But we do have to close out with our segment called Hourglass. And let me tell you what Hourglass is. Basically, when you're sipping on something. Hey. This is for Garland? Okay.
I get a special.
Yes,
wow.
He gets a special one because Garland is special. So we are sipping on champagne because, yes, it's a celebration, bitches. Don't forget that. Trey, we are going to air toast with you to the tentative win of Biden and Harris.
I'm going with cough syrup, if you don't mind.
Cough syrup?
Yeah,
okay. A little bit of Robitussin?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but so, in life, the glass is either half empty or it's half full. It all depends on your perspective. So for Hourglass, we'd like to close out the show allowing our guests to be either inspirational and motivational, or they can bitch, moan, and complain. It just all depends on how they feel. And we're going to start with Eric.
Oh, I was not expecting that. Shit, how do I feel right now? Okay, I'm going to be inspirational because I don't want to piss on anybody's cloud. I do enough of that.
Enough of that.
I'm personally very, very inspired. We've mentioned her name all throughout the show. Well, no, you know what? I'm going to take that back. Black women. I'm not even going to limit it to Stacey Abrams because there's so many branches of black women that this election in particular, from Leticia up in New York, who I think will find a way to charge Donald Trump and hopefully get him up out of here, to Abrams, who's doing so much work on the ground, not just in Georgia. She's been all over this country.
Yeah.
To Simone, to Kamala, obviously, and so many others. The shine
Verdict's
that
still out
black
on
women
Kamala.
have gotten in this election, not only is it overdue, but it shows you how important black women are, not just carrying their own demographic,
But everybody.
carrying the country as a demographic of common sense.
Especially the Democratic Party, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my glass is full, full, full. My heart is full when black women are lifted up. Ain't I a woman? You know, I think of that speech every time black women are faced with diversity, pushed down, not honored, and things like that. So right now, I just want to continue to thrive off that energy. I went out to Wilmington when they celebrated the other day. And it was
was it?
Oh, it was beautiful. So much unity, so much love. This family from Michigan ran up to my friends and I on the corner, and they were like, you know, where do we go? Where do we go? We're like, come with us. You know, everybody was just kind of getting together. And so right now, I'm trying to vibrate higher in general. So I just want to send that energy out that I'm very excited. I know that we have to hold this new administration accountable.
Yes.
But there's an energy shift. And I hope that, you know, we all play our part in supporting them and that they do the right thing. So I'm happy.
All right. Garland?
Well, you know, as a person who studies philosophy, I say my glass is twice as big as it needs to be. We gotta say
Half
something
empty.
different,
Come
right?
on now. Come on with it.
But you know, I feel great. I really, you know, as I said, as a political analyst, and I'm an independent, so I've really enjoyed this. You know, no fan of Donald Trump or the Republican Party, but no, I'm not an independent in the middle. I'm independent to the left of the Democratic Party, so I'm closer to them than the Republicans. But I've really enjoyed it, and as a person who's not, again, I'm not thrilled with Joe Biden and his record, and I'm hoping that he surprises me.
Or Kamala's record.
Right, yeah. And I'm hoping they surprise me and do something different. It remains to be seen. So, but I enjoy talking about politics. I've enjoyed this mess in a real twisted way because it's given me a lot to talk about.
Yes.
So.
All righty, Trey.
I'm gonna use my time to bitch and be inspirational. Every 4 years, especially in our community, we have this bitch and moan conversation about candidates that don't represent us. Right now, in your city council or your state legislator, there's probably a really good representative that represents you, but you don't know them. I want everyone to go out and learn their local candidates. We've all probably have friends or family members that should be running something. And we need to motivate them to run for office as well. Because the only way we're going to get representation is if we push others to get into the process. We like to talk about it, but not participate in it unless we're voting. We need to participate in it with our whole body and spirit, and everything will change.
I love it. All right, so that leaves me. My glass is half full today, and I just want to give perspective on like elections and winning and all that stuff. Sometimes it's not about the win. Sometimes the most valuable player isn't the person who takes home the trophy. Sometimes a person's sole purpose was to break a barrier so someone else could walk through the door. So while we are proud and we are thankful that Kamala is representing black women, there would be no Kamala if there was not a Shirley Chisholm. There would be no Kamala if there was not a Geraldine Ferraro. There would be no Kamala if there was not a Hillary Rodham Clinton. So we have to thank all of those women and women of color who broke down barriers. So sometimes when you don't get that win, you know, don't sulk, don't feel bad. You have to look at what your purpose was, because maybe your purpose was to set it up for greatness for someone else. And with that being the end of the show, we're just gonna drink. We'll see you next Tuesday, man. Don't forget, go to Patreon, subscribe to Patreon right now, patreon.com/April Watts Live, because after the show, it's the after party. We've got more talking to do, and that's when we get down and dirty, baby.